I just barely saw that electricians are quoting $300 just to change out a simple light switch like this one. That's insane. Now, I get it. It's not worth it for them to come all the way out to your house to do one little job for anything less than about $300. But that's just why it's so valuable to learn a few basic skills. I'm gonna show you today how easy it is to swap out a light switch or an outlet. Works basically the same, a little bit different, but just as easy to do, and how you can do it in about 5 minutes, and how it's actually so easy, my 5-year-old son could probably do it, maybe with a little bit of supervision. So today I wanna show you, I'm gonna swap out this light switch with this one here. This one's a paddle switch, on off, with a dimmer on it, so I can dim the lights in this room, which is kind of fun. I'm also gonna show you, I'm gonna do two, so you can just see twice how easy this is. This is a paddle switch, on off, with a nightlight below it. This little square is a nightlight. You press it on, press it off. The other bedrooms in this house came with those, but my youngest son's bedroom didn't. He's 5, and he's the one that wants it the most. So I'm gonna put this in his room today too, and you're gonna get to see that process. All we need for this whole project is the new light switch. I'm gonna need a new cover plate because the old cover plate, obviously, is made for a different type of light switch, and it's not gonna work with this one. So I've got the cover plate that fits the rectangle, and then I need a couple of tools. I'm gonna use, this is an S1 screwdriver. It's a square tip. That works better for electrical stuff. I need a flathead screwdriver just to take the cover plate off. And then I'm gonna use this. This is so that I can test to make sure there's no electricity coming to this light switch once I turn off the breaker. That's basically all we need to do to make sure this is a totally safe job, is turn off the breaker and then test it. The other way to test it is we just make sure that when we turn off the breaker, the light turned off. There's your test number 1. All right, let's go ahead and get to work. So before I take that cover plate off, first step is we're gonna go turn off the breaker. So let's go do that and then we'll be back. All right, I came up, the light's off, so probably gonna be good. I'm gonna go ahead and take off the plate and then we'll test. Okay, if there's power here, that would beep red. So now, I'm gonna go ahead and take this out from the wall. Okay, so I can remove the ground wire right there, but for the other wires, it's pushed in the hole in the back, so I'm gonna actually have to use like a small screwdriver to slide into the slot next to it to be able to pull them out. So I'm gonna go grab a little tiny screwdriver real quick. Okay, we need just something small and flat. This is just a little tiny screwdriver from a multi-tool. Again, having moved recently, I can't find my little tiny screwdriver, even though I'm pretty sure I used it really recently. And all I do is I slide it in right here and press, and that loosens that so I can pull it out. Now, I'm just doing the same, but gonna slide them in on this one. Now this one's a little bit different than the other one. When I put the wire in, then I actually have to tighten down the screw in order to get it to stay. I stick a wire in, the live one, tighten that down. I wanna make sure that's good and tight. It's not gonna fall off. Slide one in the other side. A lot of light switches, if they're capable of being a 3-way switch, which is where you have 2 different light switches for the same bulb, are gonna have a sticker covering one. That's one that you're not gonna use in this case where we're just replacing the light switch for a single light switch. If you're replacing a 3-way light switch, then you're just gonna wire it back up exactly the way it was wired before. Now I've got the ground and I'm just gonna hook this on there. Now whenever I do the hook style, I wanna hook it so that it's wrapping around it clockwise. That way as I tighten it down, the hook gets a little tighter. If I do it the other way, then as I tighten it down, if I do it counterclockwise like this, then as I tighten it down, it actually kind of loosens that little hook. We don't want that. And actually this one, I don't even need it to be that way because it does have a hole in the back for the ground. And I'm just gonna do it that way. I like that better anyway. I'll stick the ground wire in the back on the ground side. And then I'm just gonna tighten this down. And then it says top right here. It's hard to see, but it is kind of engraved on there. It says top. So I know that way is up, and that means that paddle switch is gonna be on, off, on, off. At least that's the standard convention. Now, I'm kind of folding the wires as I put them back in so they kind of stay grouped together nicely like that. This light switch didn't come with new screws, so I'm gonna take the screws off the old cheap light switch those here in the house. Just line it up there. I like to start one and then start the other. And then I can tighten them both down. And as I do this, it leaves a little bit of wiggle room. The holes are big enough, they leave a little bit of wiggle room. And that allows me to get this in the box and get it good and straight. Get that closer to tighten down. There's no sense holding it really straight right now until it's ready to tighten down. And that isn't even totally tightened down yet. I'll do the top one, get it close. And then I line up the wall plate. They make fancy wall plates where the screws are hidden. You can't see any screws on the outside. Unnecessary, but fun. If you really want it to look that way, then here we go. All right, I'm gonna turn that all the way up and the light switch all the way on. So when I turn on the breaker, you should see the light turn back on. And then this light switch is done. All right, well, as you see, the light turned on, off and on. It's working just fine. Let's check the dimming. Dim it down, dim it back up. Well, that's anticlimactic, and that's probably just because the bulbs that are in there right now are non-dimmable LEDs. So that's what I'll have to do next, is just replace the light bulbs with dimmable LEDs. The light switch, though, is installed and obviously working just fine. I'll get some new bulbs in there and I'll show you how it works when all is said and done. All right, we got dimmable bulbs in here now, so we're gonna go ahead and test this out. And just like that, we got a dimmer switch and we got dimmable bulbs. It's an easy job, and now it's done. It's a job you can do yourself. Let's go ahead and install the nightlight one real quick. All right, here we go one more time. I went ahead and I turned off the breaker to this room when I turned on the one in the other room. So we're gonna go ahead and take this cover off, but we'll still test it. The light switch isn't working, so that's a really good sign. Notice here, after I loosen those a little bit, I pop this off. It's because it's kind of sticking. And these light switches, or the covers, they kind of hold the screws if you don't unscrew it all the way from the cover box, if that makes sense. I kind of want the cover to stay. That way the screws stay in place. I don't lose them. Okay, we'll test it real quick. I check. No red, we're good to go. All right, let's take this off real quick. Okay, pull that out. Same as the other one. I'm gonna pull off that ground one that's in the hook style. Okay. Oh, they hooked it into a little hole. This switch doesn't come with a hole for the ground, so I'm actually gonna wanna leave this as a hook. So I'm actually gonna kind of fix the hook that I just bent up. I didn't get out my wire stripper for this because I wasn't gonna need it. I didn't need to strip any wires. But the wire stripper would actually make bending that into the right shape really fast and really easy. If you want to see how to do that, I have a video that talks about wire strippers. I'll go ahead and link to that here. It shows you all the cool ways that you get to use those. They're really awesome. Let me go ahead and pull out the little tiny screwdriver here again so that I can remove these wires. There we go. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna do the ground first. Again, I'm gonna hook it on clockwise, going around the screw clockwise, so that then as I tighten this down, it tightens that little hook. Then the other two, again, it doesn't matter with a light switch, which is which, but I will look. For this light switch, I actually need a neutral wire. Normally for a light switch, you don't. For this one, I do. So I've got the hot wire coming in, which just slides there. So I pulled the white neutral wires out of the wall. I'm gonna take this wire nut off and we're gonna add one more because this wire nut can handle 4. If it couldn't, I would actually need to do something different. Okay, and then the neutral goes here to the neutral side. But there's instructions that come with specialty light switches like this. In fact, a lot of even normal light switches do, unless you buy the 98-cent one. And I'll put the other one here, and that one that goes to the light. Okay. Now I'm gonna fold the neutral wires back in and kind of bend and fold the wires. That way they all just fit in the box nicely. Line up the screws with the holes. I'm gonna go ahead and start tightening down a little bit, but I'm not gonna go all the way yet. I wanna go turn on the breaker. And that's because the one thing I'm not 100% sure on is which of those two black wires was the live wire coming from the panel and which one is the wire going to the light. If I have it backwards, the light switch still works, but the night light probably won't. So I need to make sure I have that right. And at this point, the way I can test it is by turning the power back on and seeing if it all works. So I'm gonna get this just kind of in place so that if it works, I can tighten it down, but if it doesn't work, it doesn't take me nearly as long to double check it. So we'll go turn back that breaker back on, and there's a 50-50 chance that we got it right. Let's go. Well, we got lucky. 50-50 chance, and we got it. Pretty cool, right? With the lights off, I can turn that on. The cool thing too is, if I turn the light switch on, it detects light in the room. There's a little photocell right there. The light in here is dim enough that it's not really detecting it. If I turn on my light for my filming, it absolutely detects it. And watch what happens. It turns itself off. Pretty neat, right? So, you know, if they open up the window and a lot more light into the room, or actually what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna replace all my light bulbs with a little bit brighter ones. And when I do that, the nightlight will turn itself off when my kids turn the light on. So I won't have to worry about them accidentally leaving these little night lights on all the time. So now I just go ahead and tighten this up. Voila, just like that, in a matter of a few minutes, we very safely saved ourselves about $300. That's why we learn to do a lot of things ourselves, and that's what this channel is all about. If there's something that you'd like to learn how to do, and are curious how much money you can save doing it yourself, let me know in the comments below. I would love to make that video for you. We'll see you all next time on Fixter.